today in the morning, but there was a fail with the sound. Everyone was telling me that they couldn't hear me speak. And I spoke a lot. I told you the whole story, Leah's story. Actually, I have some groceries to put away. So I'm starting again, just waiting for someone to join in first. And yes, so yesterday, maybe I'll start from the very beginning, just like I did today in the morning. So I am from Poland, and I was raised Catholic. In Poland, most of us are Catholic, like really 99% maybe, I don't know. But most of us are raised Catholic. Then it's normal to stay Catholic, but it's also normal to not stay Catholic. Like, I think that it just really depends on the individual. So I was raised Catholic, but then in my teenage years, maybe I don't know. At first, it was just that I stopped supporting the church, really. And then over time, I think that it also became just about the believing itself. I never got to the point of like not believing in any God, not believing in something out there, someone out there. But to be honest, it wasn't really that much on my mind. Like, it wasn't something that I was thinking. Like, I would wake up and I would ask myself, like, how the world was created, how I'm here, who loves me. Like, it just wasn't really like my priority all throughout the years. So I never pronounced myself as anyone, as anything specific, speaking of believing, speaking of religion. And you could say that I remained Catholic by tradition, by that bringing up that I was given. Now that I'm older, I actually really appreciate it. I know that it's a big part of my like cultural heritage, my identity. The fact that I was raised Catholic, like, you don't appreciate it because it's so normal, but then you meet people from different backgrounds. And so, for example, right now I work as a salesperson, for example, like, speaking of the story that I'm sharing today, I was gifted a Bible written in Polish. Printed, right? It wasn't written in Polish at no point in the history, but printed in Polish from a business partner, from a friend at this point, and he's actually a Protestant. So, you're kind of getting to know other people's backgrounds and beliefs and practices. And it's interesting, like, it's far more interesting to have background than not to have it. So at this point in my life, I'm actually really grateful about my background, about my Catholic background. And so I'm reading the Bible, but like, after my teenage years, it wasn't really like like a big thing for me to figure out if I was religious, if I was a believer. So it just wasn't a part of an important conversation for me. And now I'm studying the Bible because it was a gift, and actually it's fascinating. So if I actually enjoyed having that background of being Catholic, of being raised Catholic, I still, like, I couldn't believe how much of the culture I missed. And like, if there is one book that every person in the Word should read is the Bible, because the Bible in the end is not even like, I'm Catholic, but New Testament is in general for Christians, but then the first part of the Bible, which is Torah, is for the Jewish people. So in the end, like when you sum up all of that, and there is obviously the Quran, that also takes, like, respects, observes a part of the Bible. So what I mean is, for like when you combine all those traditions and all those religions, it really makes sense for everyone to study the Bible, study at least to read the Bible. And Bible is fascinating. So I was surprised because actually the stories are really interesting. Like, they are captivating. And yesterday I read Leah's story in the Bible. Actually, it's Jacob's story. Like, Jacob is the main character. Jacob is Isaac's son. And so he is, that's the lineage that leads later to Jesus. And so they follow those most important characters in the Bible. But so Leah is just a minor character, but she really drew my attention, and I got inspired by something from Leah's story, and I wanted to share that. So what happened between Jacob and Leah and other characters? Well, so Jacob, actually, he was told by his father, Isaac, that he needed to find a wife, but that wife couldn't be from Canaan. Canaan, which is basically today's Israel. It's basically like the part of the sacred land or whatever. And so he was this is the land that is supposed to be in the the ultimate land of faith, of Christianity, of the people of faith. But still, but at that point, it's not yet. So there are many women who actually are still pagan. And so Isaac tells Jacob, and also Isaac's wife, Rebecca. Rebecca and Isaac tell Jacob to travel to where Rebecca's family is to find a wife that is actually good for him and good for that sacred lineage. Like the lineage that is supposed to reign according to the covenant. So so Jacob travels and he gets to like a well, and there are shepherds out there, and a girl comes with sheep, I believe, or with some kind of cattle, and she's beautiful. So he I believe that this is like a love at first sight. And Jacob falls for her, and it turns out to be Rachel, and Rachel is a daughter of Rebecca's brother Laban. So Jacob goes to Laban and tells him that he would like to marry Rachel. And Laban says, sure, okay, you'll marry Rachel, but you need to work for 7 years for me first. And since Jacob was in love, he had no problem with that, and he stayed at Laban's and he worked for him for 7 years. And then after 7 years, there was a wedding prepared, and he wedded his wife, but in the morning, of course, after they'd consummated the marriage, he found out that it wasn't Rachel, actually, that he'd married Leah. He hadn't noticed at any point before. And so he then goes to Laban and tells him that, like, why did you do that? Why did you do it to me? It was trickery. It was trickery. Laban was like very smart. And, it was like tradition that first it was supposed to be the eldest daughter who would marry out of the family. So that's why Laban wanted to first Leah to get married first before Rachel. And 1 second, maybe. Okay, I just want to leave the question here. I'm going to place it somewhere below my face if it's possible. Okay, it's difficult to move it, but I think that's better now. Okay, so Laban tells him that he can still marry Rachel. Like, he will just have 2 wives. But he needs to work for another 7 years in order to marry Rachel. And Jacob says, okay, because he's in love. I guess it's because he's in love with Rachel. So he agrees to that. And only after a week, he marries Rachel, and he's got 2 wives, 2 sisters, Leah and Rachel. And the thing is that he kind of never loved Leah, and that's what, like, the first thing that I was thinking of. I was feeling really sad about Leah in that story. So here are some like quotes that I have from the story. So, and when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, so it's not only that she wasn't loved, she was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So I don't know, it just made me feel really sad about Leah, because having in mind like how we date nowadays, obviously it's not easy, but I think that it's still so much better to stay single than to enter a relationship in which you're hated. So, and Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children. Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, give me children or else I die. So I also felt a little bit like Rachel was a little bit or very much manipulative. I don't know. There's like, the story continues. I just started reading that part about Jacob and his wives. So that's a little bit what's happening in the first place, right? Like he marries the 2 sisters, but he's only fallen in love with one of them, and Leah is the hated one. And I find it like, the way the story tells it, I think that what's the lesson? What's the lesson? Because the Bible teaches us through stories. So what's the lesson here? I'm not sure. There are many stories in the Bible that are very difficult to interpret and to see what they actually are supposed to teach us. But I think that here the lesson is that marriage isn't always about passion, love, desire. Jacob desired Rachel, and he even got to marry her, but she was barren, because the God knew what was the bigger plan for Leah. And he also, according to covenant, God was focused on making the covenant work. So he focused on the fate of Leah's, of Jacob's, and Leah became the more important woman, not more loved, but more important. And I think that in terms of lesson about marriage, it's that marrying the right person often means choosing not the person that you desire, but actually the person that that can be important, that will give birth to your children, that will be most beloved and most important, and so on. So you kind of never know. And let's leave behind like the fact that yes, that Jacob married the two sisters, and that it was emotionally so difficult for everyone, and like Rachel was envious of Leah's children, but Leah was feeling very, very sad about not being loved. So all of that was actually very difficult to manage, and Leah had to deal with it kind of on her own. And where I got inspired by Leah is how she dealt with that. It was very interesting, and I heard about it for the first time, and I kind of felt like it will be nice to get that inspiration for 2026. So Leah, when she was giving birth to her sons, she was also giving the sons names, and each name meant something. So first there was Reuben, and I guess that those are like Hebrew names. I'm not sure if those are Hebrew. But for example, Reuben, what it meant was see a son. So basically, it was like that was the moment, because Leah gave birth first before Rachel. Farther along the story, also Rachel gives birth. But Leah was first, and it was important. So, first son was Reuben, and it meant see a son, meaning that she felt noticed. Like Jacob hadn't noticed her before, and she was invisible in the marriage. And so that was like, I don't know, maybe a sign of gratitude towards God for having been noticed in the end, and especially as someone so important in the lineage. Then the next son was Simon, and that name meant head. So it was about God hearing her pleading and hearing about her situation. I'm not sure. I guess that also that it's not like there is like one word easy translation, because we're speaking about like old ancient Hebrew or something. But that was some kind of translation. And then there was Levi, and that was the next son. And this is a very important son, Jacob's son, because from Levi, that was the tribe. He started the tribe of priests, and there are two most important tribes, and it's Levi and Judah. So Levi meant attached, join, and it's because it was the third son, but also because Leah wanted to feel attached to her husband Jacob. So that was also like her desire, her wish expressed through another name. And then the fourth son, which was Judah, another, like the most important son, the most important tribe from Jacob's, because from Judah Jesus would be born. And then, and so we have Judah is praise. That's the translation. And it's important because at that point, Leah is like praising God, I believe. So this is the translation. She shifts from Jacob to God. She focuses more on gratitude towards God. For example, Levi was still, his name was more like the wish to feel attached to her husband, but the fourth son already attaches her more to God, I believe. And then we have the fifth son, which is Issachar, and this is reward. God has rewarded me. That's like translation. And finally, there is the last sixth son of Leah's, which is Zebulun, and this is like home, dwelling. So this is they say this is like hope for stability. But anyways, like as I mentioned, maybe it's hard to actually interpret those names in one decisive way, because those are like ancient scrolls, ancient languages. But the thing is that what I liked about Leah is that Leah, whenever something important happened, in her case, it was the birth of her sixth son. So there was like, each son was born, and she would give him a name that commemorated something, and basically how she felt. So most of our names actually commemorate, like they don't even commemorate. I think that most people choose names because they mean something. They associate names with something, but rarely ever a parent chooses a name because they make a wish on how they would like to feel, like that they would like to be more attached to their husband, for example, right? So I find it interesting because well, maybe I actually prefer the way we call children right now, but I think that it's nice to think that whenever, like in 2026, there will be few events for everyone that will become like that will mark that year, that will define that year. It could be switching jobs, it could be starting a relationship, ending a relationship. There will be like important events for every one of us in 2026. And I thought, why not give those events names? Like Leah did with her sons, like commemorate them, and some of them make them, like give them names of gratitude, and to others give like names of wishes, like how we would like things to go. And I found it so creative and so inspiring. So this is definitely something that I will do in 2026. And I was inspired by Leah's story. So that's why that's what I wanted to share today in the morning. It wasn't possible because there was like a sound problem. But yeah, but this is, so I've repeated the live, and also I'm going to record a video about archetypes. I'm going to be now uploading those videos about archetypes, and there will definitely be an episode for Leah's archetype because I find it absolutely fascinating. So thank you for tuning in today, and speak very soon again. Bye bye.